Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah. I am finally going to be starting something that I've been wanting to start on my channel for a very long time. The current name for it is Spooky Snacc. The idea comes from, personally, I'm someone that absolutely loves true crime, paranormal, spooky stuff, spooky subjects. I love Halloween. I'm just that girl. Okay, I love watching Bailey Sarian on YouTube, and she definitely was a huge inspiration for me wanting to do a series like this on my channel. But basically, Spooky Snacc is, I'm going to be talking about spooky subjects, more specifically paranormal themed subjects, so hauntings, paranormal activity, all that kind of stuff, while turning myself into a snack. Like I said, Bailey Sarian is a huge inspiration for me. I love her Murder Mystery Makeup Monday series on her channel where she talks about true crime while doing her makeup. I just wanted to do something in more of the paranormal realm of things. I do know that there is another YouTuber named Robert Welsh here on YouTube that does a similar thing where he either reads off or listens to fan-submitted spooky stories while doing his makeup. With this series, I basically wanted to be the bridge between the two. I wanted to be the bridge between Bailey Sarian and her style of discussion and on topics, while bringing in Robert's version of things where he's talking about specifically more spooky stories, paranormal stuff. He does throw in some other like mysterious happenings, but predominantly it's a lot of paranormal stuff. So like I said, I wanted to be the bridge between the two. Thus, Spooky Snacc was born. But the name Spooky Snacc is pending. I'm not really fully sold on it. I like it and I think it's a cute idea and a cute name, but I don't know if it really like hits that good or if it makes a lot of sense. So make sure you let me know in the comments if you think Spooky Snacc is a cute idea. I hope you guys find this series kind of interesting. Since this is my first go round with it, I'm not 100% sure how my delivery is going to be, but let me know. And I hope you also like the setup. I tried something different. I've been playing around with it a lot. This took a little finagling, but I really like how it turned out actually. But with all of that being said, we're gonna hop right into today's first edition of Spooky Snacc. For today's story, I want to talk specifically about a local legend. I do live in the Bay Area, so the local legend I want to be talking about is the White Lady of Stow Lake. So without further ado, get on into it. My boyfriend actually is the one who recommended for me to start with this story as the first edition on my channel. Like I said, this is a local Bay Area story, so if you're from the Bay Area, you might have heard of this, or at the very least you're gonna know about the places that I'm referring to. This story specifically takes place in Golden Gate Park. Golden Gate Park, it's in San Francisco if you haven't heard of it. It is huge. There's so much to do. There's dozens of gardens and waterfalls and stuff like that where you can go around and visit, and there's just different activities to do basically. Golden Gate Park is known for at night specifically being very dark. Even though there are street lights, it's a very dark, creepy looking park at night, so you know, just generally it's not a good idea to spend a lot of time there late at night by yourself. And overall, the park has just been known to have some rumors of some creepy happenings. Stow Lake is one of the lakes located in Golden Gate Park, and how it's set up is in the very center of the lake is Strawberry Hill, and there is Huntington Falls, and there's a whole path that runs along the base of Strawberry Hill. And then surrounding that is actual Stow Lake. Along the outside of Stow Lake is also a separate path. So Stow Lake was actually the first artificial lake that was built in Golden Gate Park, as well as Huntington Falls being the first man-made waterfall in Golden Gate Park. So Stow Lake was actually named after a guy named W.W. Stow, who gave $60,000 for the construction of the lake. Like I said, it was a man-made lake within Golden Gate Park. Now, in doing my research, I did learn that this guy, Mr. Stow, was actually an anti-Semitic politician who made some pretty xenophobic comments towards the Jewish community. Thankfully, because of this, he didn't go very far in his political career in San Francisco or in California in general. But unfortunately, the park was still named after him because it was customary, especially at the time, for areas or landmarks that were funded by individuals to be named after them. But I did research back in 2018, a guy named Steve Miller actually began the process of contacting the district that is in charge of Golden Gate Park and was trying to contact them about getting the name changed. But unfortunately, after that, there isn't much conversation about the name being changed or anything like that. So honestly, especially after learning about this guy, Mr. Stow, I really do hope that we can get the name changed one day, because honestly, there's really no reason to keep it named by him. But unfortunately, it seems like I said, conversation regarding the name change really subsided after Steve Miller tried contacting the district. So just wanted to vocalize and point out that unfortunately it is named after a racist ass dude, and that we should work to get that fixed, please. But continuing on with the story, the actual first mention of the ghost of Stow Lake was in the San Francisco Chronicle on January 6th, 1906, but we will get back to that a little bit later. So the origins of the story, as most stories that are told by word of mouth, some of the details can be different depending on who you hear it from. And because of that, I'm going to be telling you guys the general story, and then I will go into some of the other details that can kind of come into play in different variations of the story. But like I said, we're going to start with the overall general story of the White Lady of Stow Lake. So the story goes that one day there was a woman who was walking her child in a stroller around Stow Lake. So like I mentioned, there's the path on the inner side that goes around Strawberry Hill, and then there's the path on the outer side that circles Stow Lake. Based on the story, I'm assuming she was probably on the path on the outside surrounding Stow Lake, but specific location doesn't really matter. So she's walking her child in the stroller around Stow Lake, and eventually she gets a little bit tired, so she sits on a bench to take a break. When she sits down, a woman comes up and begins starting to have a conversation with her. And they're just chatting it up, like having a pretty intense conversation. So intense to the point that the story goes is neither woman noticed when the baby stroller began to slowly roll into the lake. So the women are talking, eventually the conversation ends, and the woman turns to check on her baby in the stroller, and she notices that the stroller is gone, completely missing. So naturally, as any person would, she's freaking the fuck out. She's like, oh my god, where did my baby go? She's running up to any person that she can find and asking them, have you seen my baby? She's searching everywhere, can't seem to find the stroller or the baby anywhere. So she's searching all day looking for her baby all the way into the night. So eventually night rolls around, and that's when she realizes there's only one place she had yet to check for her baby, and that was the lake. The story goes that she went into the lake in search of her child and never came out. So it's said that if someone goes to Stow Lake late at night and they are approached by the woman in white, she will ask you, have you seen my baby? If you say yes, she will haunt you for the rest of your life. If you say no, she will kill you. So not to laugh at that, but there's just no getting out of it in this situation. So in other words, if a woman in white approaches you at Stow Lake asking you if you've seen her baby, just don't respond. It is also said that you can get the woman in white to appear to you by saying, white lady, I have your baby 3 times. And if you say that 3 times, she's supposed to appear and once again ask you if you have seen her baby. Additional reports also say that if you venture into Stow Lake with friends within your car and you're driving around Stow Lake, because you actually can drive around it as well, that the cars will all stall simultaneously. So I actually did read one report that claimed that this exact scenario happened to them. I'm going to get into that story now. So this person, will name them Sam. Sam and their friends went to Stow Lake purposely in search of the white lady. So their group of friends divided up into 2 cars. One car in the front and the car that Sam was in right behind them. So they're driving through Stow Lake and they drove past this statue, which I will get into the significance of the statue after as well. But they drove past this statue and Sam noticed that the face of the woman in the statue, her face looked really distorted. And obviously they're driving past, so Sam looks into the rearview mirror on the side of the car and notices that back at the middle of the road where they just passed stood a woman in white. And when they mentioned it to their friends, saying, "Oh my gosh, there's a woman in white in the road behind us," both cars, the one in front of them and their car, all of a sudden stalled. All of the friends in Sam's car all turned around and all claimed to have seen the exact same woman in white standing in the middle of the road, right where they had just passed. The details of the story, they were able to get their cars back up and running, and when all the friends looked to see if the woman was still there, she was gone. Now, some of the other slight detail variations of the story claim different reasons that the baby drowned. So one story says that she actually drowned the child because she had the baby out of wedlock, and others say that her and the baby actually drowned off of falling off of a boat. Now, at Stow Lake, you actually can rent out paddle boards and those pedaling boats, the ones that you can sit and pedal. So I'm assuming that the idea of the falling out of the boat story came from the fact that you can rent out paddle boats on Stow Lake as well. Other variations also claim that the white lady actually had 3 kids, and that's where the statue kind of starts to come back into play. So it was said that she had one baby that was like a newborn or infant in the stroller, and then 2 slightly older kids that were more like toddler kid age, no more than 10. At one of the entrances of Stow Lake, there's actually a statue. The statue is called Pioneer Mother, and that is believed to be the white lady with her arms outstretched. I will insert a picture. Her arms are outstretched and she has 2 kids by her feet. So some reports claim that the statue can actually be used as a warning for the nights when the white lady is active. In other words, if you see the statue move or is distorted, or even some claim that if you get close enough you can hear children's laughter, then that's how you know that the white lady is active and out searching for her baby. Some reports even claim that sometimes at night the statue will appear to have the ghost of a 3rd child standing with the other children at her feet. Now, honestly, that would be really creepy if all of a sudden you look at the statue and there's 3 kids there instead of just 2. I would definitely take that as a sign to get the fuck out. So let's get into where the origins of the white lady may have come from. So like I mentioned at the beginning, the first mention of a ghost in Stow Lake was actually reported in the San Francisco Chronicle on January 6th, 1908. So the article was a story about a man named Arthur Pigeon. He was in a car full of women and they were speeding through Stow Lake when a cop pulled them over. So the car was speeding through Stow Lake before it got pulled over by a police officer, asking them basically why they were speeding. He noticed that all of the people in the car looked terrified, as if they had seen a ghost. Pigeon told the officer that they had seen a, quote, thing directly in front of the vehicle, quote, clad in a luminous white robe and holding its arms extended as though to stop the progress of the machine. It was a thin, tall figure. It seemed to shine. It had long, fair hair and was barefooted. I did not notice the face. I was too frightened. So obviously the officer is a little bit like, yeah, sure. So he asks them to take him back to where they saw this seemingly ghost figure. All of the women in the car screamed in fear, so Pigeon himself was the only one who went, and he walked the officer back, and of course, there was nothing there. The Chronicle wrote, quote, Captain Gleason of the park station was informed of the affair and gave orders that any ghost answering this description is to be arrested on sight. So at the very least, the officer was going to attempt to arrest this ghost. Now, as for, I really wanted to research and see if there was any specific case of a woman who died at Stow Lake that could have inspired a story like this to come up. Like, why all of a sudden was Stow Lake this super haunted lake with this lady in white haunting it, right? Unfortunately, in San Francisco, the 1906 earthquake actually destroyed a lot of police reports and even a lot of homes, so family reports too, that would have given any form of evidence of some kind of event taking place in Stow Lake that could have led to the story being formulated. So if there was any form of a police report about a woman and her baby drowning in Stow Lake, it was lost. However, that doesn't mean that Stow Lake wasn't known for having crazy deaths happening. There's a series of newspaper crime stories and death notices that really showed that Stow Lake has a very, very dark history. So like I mentioned, Golden Gate Park is a very dark park. Even though it does have streetlights in it, and I can only imagine back then probably not having very many streetlights, if it did at all, it's a really dark park. Like, the streetlights really don't give very much light throughout the parks, but because of this, actually, Stow Lake was known for being a very popular location for suicides. Suicides were so common, in fact, that actually the San Francisco Call had a Sunday feature in 1900 called The Park Suicides. The Call wrote, quote, "The park, with its luxury of trees, shrubbery, and green grass, seems to appeal strongly to the troubled philosopher who seeks to rid himself of what he deems a burden." So this story, accompanied by a complete list of suicides in the park since 1890, founded that every 1 in 12 suicides in San Francisco was taking place at Stow Lake. The methods of suicides ranged everything from poisonings to gunshot wounds. There was only one suicide by drowning, but that death was later ruled as a homicide. So if the White Lady of Stow Lake died there, it's theorized that maybe it might have happened after this story was written in 1900, because obviously, surely a suicide that dramatic of a woman and her baby dying probably would have made the article. However, there was one story that does give some speculation that maybe something there did in fact actually inspire this White Lady of Stow Lake story. Mary Cook and Nellie Gilligan, who were both 12-year-old earthquake refugees who were living in Stow Lake at the time, reported to police that they had seen the naked body of a baby floating in Lloyd Lake, which was a pond right nearby Stow Lake. Obviously, the police did a full investigation and planned to drag up the contents of the bottom of the lake to try to find any remains, but unfortunately, their initial search came up with nothing, and there were no reports on what happened after they decided to drag up the bottom of the lake, so it's kind of just assumed that they must not have came up with anything, or else it probably would have ended up in the news. So it's speculated that this, in combination with the park's known suicides, that this is what wrote the legend of the woman in Stow Lake. There's no shortage of candidates of women who possibly could be the specific origin of the White Lady in Stow Lake, because there's at least 4 women who did commit suicide in the park, including one whose name was never actually discovered. Now, briefly touching back on that statue, it was not specifically created in memorial for the White Lady. Actually, it's this whole convoluted story where it basically started with one artist and there was issues with their statue, and so it got switched to a different artist, and it went through a few people, and then it actually got forgotten about, and then it was rediscovered after the 1906 earthquake, and then eventually moved to its final resting place in Golden Gate Park. Honestly, I think that the theories about the woman having the multiple kids and that the statue is in memorial of her actually isn't very true. I think that part probably more so came to be because the statue was put there, so then people started to attribute it to that. Some theories speculate, if you are someone who does definitely believe in ghosts and their spirits re-inhabiting objects, that once the statue was placed there, the ghost of the woman in white basically took or embodied the statue. That's one theory that I've seen. But think what you will, but just know that the origins of it was not specifically because of the woman in white. There is actually another ghost that is said to haunt Stow Lake, and it is the ghost of a cop. There is no specific information on if it is a specific cop, or really I couldn't find any information on where the specific legend stems from. It's kind of just glossed over really and not really discussed in a lot of articles, more so than the woman in white. But the story of the ghost cop goes that if you are driving in Stow Lake late at night, you will get pulled over by a cop and he'll give you a ticket, most likely for speeding. And when you go into the police station to either pay the ticket or just, take the next steps, the clerk will tell you that that cop actually is dead or doesn't exist or, doesn't work here, basically. That officer, that ticket is not valid. But honestly, if I was going to get pulled over by a cop at any point in my life, I would rather it be a ghost cop that can't really do anything to me, or I don't actually have to pay the ticket, so that's pretty cool. Honestly, I need to get better about pacing out my makeup and telling the story, because yeah, that's basically it. That is the story of the White Lady of Stow Lake. I feel like saying the White Lady of Stow Lake means I'm talking about a Karen when I actually mean the woman in white, but I'm going to finish up the last bit of my makeup and then we will close this out. Alrighty guys, and here is the final makeup look. I went for, honestly, I feel like for the overall vibe of this video, my makeup is a little bit more soft and cute and girly. It's like a light pink glittery eye look, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my first ever edition of Spooky Snack, where we talk about spooky things and end up looking like a snack. Leave any suggestions that you might have in the comments below, letting me know of any other stories that you'd like me to talk about. Like I said, I have a whole list of things coming up that I can't wait to also do videos on, but obviously please leave any recommendations, anything paranormal, hauntings. I love looking into like the history of haunted places. I'm gonna do some of the classics, like obviously the Stanley Hotel, the Cecil Hotel, the Queen Mary, places like that, as well as like spooky legends such as like the Mothman. I want to do a video on him, and yeah, just talking about other like spooky subjects. And if you did really enjoy this video and want to see more in this series, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and to subscribe down below to stay updated for the upcoming Spooky Snacc series. Thank you again for checking out my video, and I will see you guys next week for episode 2 of Spooky Snacc. Bye guys.